Hello and welcome back to part 2. Now let's continue where we left off. Just extract these colors. So we have 130, 190 and 125. So let's go back to our code and just adjust that. 130, 190 and 125. Let me just make sure that's the right thing. Okay, 130, 190 and 125. So let's go ahead and delete that grid. So now we have our colors. Now one more thing is that we should add in a variable of a type boolean. So this variable can actually hold true or false. Now we are going to use this variable so that we can know whether the switch is turned on or off. So let's go ahead and create one private boolean. Okay, let's keep it let's give it a name, toggled. Yeah, okay, and let's give it a initial state of false. Okay, so there we have it. Okay, everything is set. Now what we want to do is, when I click on the dot, the round circle here, I want it to move either left or right, on or off, depending with the initial statement. So let's go ahead to the lightning bolt icon for events, and let's go to the mouse left down. Okay, event, mouse left button down. So let's just click on that. Okay, and this is what we have. So let's go ahead and write in some code. So let's begin with the if statement. So if the button is not toggled, meaning it's off. So if toggled is equal to false, so when we click on the button, the round dot, it will run this code. So if the button is off, is not toggled, if it's false, then it should turn it on. All right, else it should turn it off. So if the button is off, it should turn it on. Otherwise, if the button is on, then it should turn it off. So we need to change the background color of the rectangle, and we name this rectangle back. So let's go ahead. So back dot fill should be set to on. Yes, so we are changing the fill color to this color, green, on. And we should change the toggled to true. Okay, and we should move the dot to the left side, dot margin. So we are going to, now we made a set of margins here in a variable called thickness. So when it's on, we want it to move to the right side, so just say right side. Okay, and just copy this and paste it there. So in this code, we're going to change this to off. Okay, changing this to false, changing this to left. Okay, so there we have it. Now Okay, now we want other classes to be able to change this value. Okay, they should be able to access this value, so we should actually make it accessible. Now because it's a private, we need to create a method called the get set method. So what this does, it allows for example, if this user control is being used in another window, another class, that class can access this value and can also set this value. It can get or set. So just go ahead and right click, quick actions, choose the second option here. You can see the get set. Okay, just preview and apply. So it created this method here called the toggled one. Okay, so it means you can actually change this value. You can get, you can view it, or you can actually set it. So just leave everything like that. Now what I want to do is when the user control begins, when the moment we implement it, I want it to be in the off state. So we can just copy and place it. So once it's initialized, this is the first block of code that runs once it's initialized. So I want it to be on the left side and in the off statement, in the off state, sorry. So we can go ahead and everything is okay now. So now what we need to do is go back to the XAML file. Now we have a grid, which is the one that's transparent here. Okay, so I want us to go ahead and create a view box. Now a view box helps resize whatever is inside it proportionally, so that it doesn't squash or squeeze. Okay, so we have a view box wrapping around the smaller grid. So let's go ahead and just get rid of this, the bigger grid. Okay, so there you have it. We have the view box that's here. So we can resize the view box. Okay, now before we do that, let's, oh sorry, okay, so just go to the view box, click on the view box. Let's just okay, so once we click on the view box, click on the grid inside. Okay, now once you click on the grid, now because the grid is wrapping up the rectangle and the ellipse, just click on the grid and just set the margin to 0, because I want the grid to be the same size as the view box. So as you can see, so I want to resize the view box. Now the view box is the same size as our user element there. So once that is done, just click on the user control and resize it. Sorry, oh, hold on, user control. Okay, go to the view box, set the margin to 0, 0. Okay, so let's resize it. Okay, so what I just did is I made the user control the same size as the view box, and the view box the same size as the grid. So they are, so this is the user control itself. So once again, you should go to the grid and set the margin to 0 so that it actually fits inside the view box. And if at all the view box is larger than the grid, just adjust it so that it fits perfectly. And then do the same for the user control and the view box so that they fit. Now what we are going to do right now is go to the grid, click on the grid and make sure it's selected there. Okay, you can just click there, and we are going to get rid of the color. So this is what we're going to have. Okay, so once this is done, that's it. So let's go ahead and build our solution. Okay, that will take a few seconds, I guess. Okay, the build has been successful. So let's go back to our main window. Here's our main window, and if you go to the toolbox, if you scroll up, our user control pops up here. Okay, so you can drag that and just drop it there. Okay, once that is done, just adjust the size. Okay, something is happening. The user control is not resizing. So let's go back to our toggle button and fix this. So let's go to the view box. Okay, and let's see what's happening. So stretch should be set to uniform to fill. Now remember, what we are resizing is the user control. So the user control will resize the view box, right? Because the user control is the one that's at the outer bounds. So what we're going to do is make sure these links are locked so that when we adjust the user control, it also affects the view box. So make sure we lock them up. So let's go ahead and do that. Okay, now you can go to the view box. I just changed the setting called stretch. Now this is the way the view box stretches the item inside. So you can switch between uniform and uniform to fill. So for now, let's just keep it at the default uniform to fill and just build solution again. Okay, once that is done, you see, okay, so our error has been corrected, so we can now resize it to the desired size. So let's just go ahead, and that's quite big, I guess, but anyway, let's just do that and debug. Let's see how it works. Okay, there we have it. So it's in the initial position. So if we go ahead and click, it moves. If I click again, it takes it back. Now the thing is, if the user clicks on the green part, nothing happens, just the circle. So I want this to happen for the green part as well, for the background, you see. So let's go ahead and just do that with some few lines of code. So go back to the XAML file and click on the rectangle, which is the back. And we also need to put a mouse left down event, so just double click. Okay, so now what we're going to do is just copy this and paste it inside so that it also happens for that part again. Okay, so let's go ahead and test. Okay, so there you have it. So if I click on the green, it also happens. If I click on the circle, it happens. So that's how you make your toggle switch. Okay, now just one last trick, just one last thing we can do is, let's go to our main XAML file. Okay, and let's add in an ellipse. Okay, this little ellipse. Okay, we can name it, let's just name it light. Okay, so once that is done, now let's go back to our okay, once we name it light, and what we can do is go to our toggle code and just copy these colors here and paste them in the code here in our main window code. Just paste them there. We're just going to adjust a few things. Now what we're going to do is we want some colors like orange, something like yellow. Okay, so that's 240, 22, 222 and 45. So let's go okay, so when it's on, it will be orange. Now the thing is this, the user control is a separate class, so these variables actually are not the same, they're different. This is the main window class and this is the toggle button class, so I can actually use the same names, they don't affect anything. So in our off state, we want the light to be something like that. Okay, so that's oh okay, let's just make it black. Okay, that's off. So for a dark color, that's just 0 0 0. Okay, now let's go back to this. Now we have already compiled, we've already built up the solution. So this is a user control, so we can give it a different name, we can give it whatever name, it's already done. Now let's go to our mouse, click mouse down. Okay, so when we click on this user control, an event should be raised. Now according the user control itself turns on and off. That's the way it has been programmed in itself. So once we click, we want the main window to respond to that click. So let's go to the mouse down event. Okay, there we have it. Okay, now oh sorry, let's just go back and get rid of this code and get rid of this, sorry, get rid of that. Now let's give it a name. Let's just give it a name, switch. Yeah, just give it BU, button, BU for the short. Okay, so let's go ahead and mouse left down. Okay, so we see the event is there. Now what we want to do is we want to turn this, want this to change. Now we named it light. So when we click on this user control, what should happen? Okay, so if BU, now BU is our user control. Once we click on this, we want to know if BU is on or off, and the only way we can know if it's on or off is by checking this variable. If this variable is true or false, then we can know if it's on or off. Now remember, we made the get set method, so that means we can actually check if this variable is true or false. So now remember, this method was called toggled1, and it will return a boolean value. It's going to return something. It's either going to return false or true. Okay, so we are going back to the code and bu dot taggle1. So if bu dot taggle1 is equal to true, then do something, else switch off the light. Now we can we actually don't need this. We can just do that, because in itself it can return true or false, or we can equate it to true or false. Okay, just for the sake of learning. Okay, so if this value returns true, then we want the light bulb to be set to on. Light bulb dot fill, the color, we want that color to be set to on. Okay, else if this returns false, we want it to go off. So light dot fill, change the color to off. Okay, so that's it, just through these simple lines of code. Okay, so if it's true, it's gonna turn it on, else it's gonna turn it off. Let's go ahead and test that. Okay, so there you have it, on, off. So thank you so much, see you next time.